carried. Thank you very much. Now, moving to Te Pātaka o Rākaihautū, Banks Peninsula Community Board report to Council. Pam, welcome to the table.
Thank you.
10 minutes is yours.
Right, can I just start off with, can we thank our staff that support us through all of the work that we're doing? I just want to make a particular mention of Anzac Day and the superb support that was given by our City Council staff to ensure that we had a very a wonderful Anzac Day service. It is a citizenship ceremony. So we have got a Part A, and that's under the property review process, and you're dealing with that later on. So we look forward to seeing your debate around that. So the first one here I want to talk about are regional parks on Banks Peninsula, and we have got 2 new regional parks on Banks Peninsula, following a board approving the Misty Peaks and the Tioka management plans. And then we've people were submitted on those plans. They had drop-in sentence, and we're delighted to see now that we have these very popular areas with management plans, and we look forward to next steps. So there was part of this, a hearings panel considered the submissions on the 2 plans and made a recommendation to the board, and part of it was looking at how these reserves fit into the wider picture, the wider visitor and recreational planning for Banks Peninsula. And we've also got geoparks being talked about for Banks Peninsula. We've got Banks Peninsula Conservation Trust. So there's a whole range of things around our biodiversity, and so we're asking for the hearings panel asked for a holistic, coordinated approach to the Banks Peninsula area, and you'll see that that's in the paper there. But we believe that this needs to come back to the board to translate into action. And so there will be multiple work streams around this, and we'll be working with other agencies. They'll be working with other agencies and organisations. We've all got the same values, and we need to just make sure we're working together. The next one is about Lyttelton Port and the cruise ship Berth. Now, if you go to the Lyttelton Port website, they've got amazing videos on there. So, but we are updated by Lyttelton Port Company on the issues around the port. For example, upgrade to the oil berth. We know that they've got a new tug in the area. That we know that also that the majority of the earthworks are completed, and that we know that the new cruise berth is scheduled to be opened by November 2020. So buses will take cruise passengers straight off that wharf there, that in front of you there, and take them through to the town or through to the city. So we're looking at over 70 bookings in Lyttelton in 2020-21. There's also we need to be looking at the planning around that to ensure that we can actually look after those visitors that are coming on land. So the next one leads on to that, and we have a cruise action group. That's amazing that that's not rolls of that's actually bailage in that front of that picture there. It's not little spots of cotton wool or anything, but it is bailage that's sitting in there. So the cruise action group, the board is actually not involved in that. But it's a group of staff from Environment Canterbury, the City Council, Christchurch NZ, and Environment Canterbury working together to look at a range of issues to make sure that the cruise season is a good experience for everybody. So this group is looking at short-term goals, improving traffic management in Akaroa and Little River, one contact for the cruise industry to be working with us, or working with those 2 areas, and there are medium-term goals and long-term goals, and there's looking at dealing with double ship days, codes of conduct for tour operators. There's a whole range of issues around that. But part of this is that the board is actually asking, has been continually hammering away for quite some time, that we do need some planning around it, some visitor planning around it to assist with destination travel. And if we move forward, Akaroa will be losing a considerable number of passengers, Lyttelton gaining them, and we need to treat those, deal with those issues to ensure that our communities, both communities, economically survive the situation. And then lastly, can we just move to Godley House in Diamond Harbour, and following the closure of Stakaka and Diamond Harbour, they decided not to renew the lease. The future of that area is now under discussion again and review. So the board has had an update and on the process for dealing with that. The community is very interested and very determined to get something underway as soon as possible. So a lot of things that we could talk about in our paper here, but I'll just leave it there. There will be a news release today or very shortly around the regional parks, a newsline.
Thank you very much. So that allows some time for questions. Pauline, first of all.
Thank you. Thanks for another really interesting report.
I had to rattle along.
Yeah, you guys have got a lot on your plate over there. Look, I've just got a question about the water drone project. What is that? And the water drone at Lyttelton Harbour by Peninsula Air. Can you tell us about what that is?
Well, I can't tell you a lot about it. It's just in the early stages of discussion.
No, what is it?
It's a water aircraft.
A seaplane?
Amphibian. Yes, amphibian aircraft, yeah.
For tourism?
Yes, and
the
opportunities for
board's
Banks
going to make
Peninsula.
a submission on it?
Yes, we will be making them a submission, but there's not a lot of information about it yet. It's just early stages, such as just a heads up, this is going to happen.
Yeah.
So a lot of steps to be made.
Because I know that there's been helicopter tourism mooted for there, but it's seen quite a bit of opposition because of the noise. So I just wondered, so that will all be part of it anyway,
Yes,
consultation?
yes. There's a lot of work to go. This is just the initial hands up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Phil.
Thank you very much, Pam. In Saturday's press there was an article, I don't know if you saw it, was
Yes.
about Zealandia and how the success of that program in Wellington and Eastbourne in terms of bringing in native birds. And I just, particularly, but I just wondered, your hearings panel, report on the hearings panel, to have a holistic coordinated approach to the peninsula.
Yes.
Including, I just wondered, in fact, if that concept of Zealandia might be able to be fitted in with what the board have in mind.
Well, we haven't had any discussions around it. That came back from the hearings panel. So we think about Banks Peninsula as a whole place. So that, but maybe it may be an option moving forward. There's a whole lot of things. You saw the biodiversity hub mentioned in the paper at the weekend too. So there are a lot of thoughts going on around a place. We just need to make sure that we're all part of that process and involved in that discussion.
Absolutely. Thank you, Pam.
Jimmy.
One question, particularly regarding the cruise ship, the action group. You particularly mentioned those group make a presentation to your community board and focus on visit, navigation, safety. But I remember your community board particularly emphasized many times regarding public toilet, rubbish collection, rubbish bin, etc. Whether you have expressed your concern to them, they might have, in the early stage, you can mitigate those effects.
Could you, what was that question? I'm sorry, Jimmy,
I speak slowly, Your particular mention the cruise ship action group,
Yeah, the cruise action group.
Council, Christchurch, NZ, and the ECAN, organized.
And City Council.
Make a presentation to the community board, all right?
No, they didn't make a presentation. They just
Not presentation, briefing.
Yeah, yes.
But whether your community board express your concern, like for the future, how to mitigate those whether the kind of rubbish bin, and also public toilet, etc. Whether express this issue dealing with them or not. They might consider, because the number of the visitors may be more in the mall.
Yes.
In the Banks Peninsula.
Yes. Well, that's what we're asking for, a visitor strategy for Banks Peninsula,
Yes.
so that it talks about much wider than cruise ships. It talks about all sorts of tourism opportunities, visitor opportunities on Banks Peninsula, and that we need to do that now. We need to have the right infrastructure to deal with it, whether it's for a cruise ship passenger or a walker on Banks Peninsula or a driver. We need to look at that and start addressing those issues.
Sub-question, but this action group, whether community board
Yes.
member will be in those group or not? Your community
Well,
board
eventually,
member.
that will all come together. Christchurch NZ is part of this cruise action work group, and so we're expecting them to take leadership of doing some of this visitor planning for us. It's not evident at the moment that it's happening. We don't want to get more people here without making sure we've got the right infrastructure. So we want managed tourism as we move through the next few steps.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I'll allow one final question from Sarah.
Thank you. Just a quick process question, actually. The submission to the CAA on the float plane that the board's intending to do.
Yes.
I'm just checking on delegations. I know that there's issues with external
Sarah,
submissions.
we did ask.
Did you need us to put in a thing saying that you can or something? You
No,
don't?
we've actually approached the council and all the staff, and they've given us the verbal okay that we can do it.
Oh, that's great.
Yes.
'Cause I was wondering, if not, we could have done a delegation here or
Yeah,
something.
no, we're doing it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
no,
yes.
it's a good point, and thanks for clarifying
Yes.
it. So, Pam, thanks very much indeed for a detailed presentation with some excellent imagery, as always. Good to see the imagery of the cruise berth in Lyttelton as well,
Yes.
and to know that that's still on target for opening at the beginning of the 2020 cruise ship season. So, great. Now, I'm happy to move this resolution, except that I'd like to remove the word consider and add the word support instead. I think what we've heard from you, Pam, this morning is that this is an urgent piece of work that needs to be got underway.
Yes.
It's expected that Christchurch NZ would play a leading role in it, but Council certainly has a role in making sure that it happens. So that would allow us to bring together a number of the issues that you've talked about around the tourism and visitor industry, but also the work on the reserves and the work on the Banks Peninsula Geopark, for example, as well, all of which need to be brought together in a coordinated way. So I'm happy to move that. Do I have a seconder?
Can I just have a question about the support, Andrew? Are you, as opposed to the previous word?
Consider.
Does support reference funding and budgets and stuff, or should we say endorse an approach?
Yep.
I'm just a bit concerned about annual planning and
I'd be
and
happy with that. I mean,
implications
all
and
I
stuff.
want is a word that's stronger than consider.
Yeah. I mean, we'll be considering it here.
All right, so let's go to...
Endorse a holistic approach.
Yep. I'd be happy with that. So, a seconder? Phil? Yep. All right, great. Well, the report presumably would come back to the Community Board. The Community Board have already asked for Christchurch NZ to work with them to achieve this. This is part of the Community Board's plan as well, and the Community Board have held back from doing anything on it at this stage because Christchurch NZ are progressing some work, but we just need to lift it up so that it can happen. Is it already part of the... The hearings panel was concerned that there were reserve management plans that were being approved, that naturally would be approved as part of an overall Banks Peninsula approach. We were approving those plans because of the process that we were running as individual reserve management plans. The hearings panel, through what we heard from submitters, wanted to give effect to that need for overall planning and integrated thinking for Banks Peninsula. That's something the Community Board have been talking about for a long time as well. We just need to find a way of lifting it up so that something happens, and the Community Board's view, and in fact the hearings panel's view, was that bringing that to Council so that it could put some support behind that was the right way to give it the level of importance that it needs and to get some work happening.
To resource.
I don't know. That remains to be seen, but something needs to happen. So we're... Are you happy with the word endorse?
What does it tie us to?
Well, that would be a separate decision. Of course it is. There's nothing in this resolution that approves $10 million for spatial planning or visitor planning on Banks Peninsula.
Think about recount, right?
Yes,
Yes.
yes,
Reserve.
yes. And there's a lot more work to go on.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, from a process point of view, this has been moved and seconded. Are people wanting to speak to it, or I've got people with their hands up
So
and I'm
I
not sure
just have
why.
a question because I want to sort of know what this ties us into and what the cost associated is with that second.
Okay, maybe we need some staff advice around what the effective wording is, because, you know, I know what I want to achieve and I know what Pam wants to achieve. Whether this wording is achieving that and what happens next if we pass this probably is a question for staff rather than something that I'm able to answer.
a whole bunch of time on it today, surely just getting a report back on it or something that would give it a bit more clarity might be useful, because there's no time frames, there's no process once we agreed it to. But I just wonder if it would be good to get a memo back or a report back.
How about, the suggestion is, support the community board working to achieve a holistic coordinated approach.
Yep. Yep.
So the wording would be support the community board working to achieve.
Support or endorse. I mean, how much resourcing does support tie us to at this point when there's, Naval Point and a whole pile of other things happening in the area that...
I think we're really into semantics here, are we not? The community board of...
No, there's history with this.
Okay, endorse the community board working to achieve, and then it's a matter for the community board, and whatever the community board do, the council endorses what they're doing. All right, endorse the community board work. Okay. I just want something stronger than consider, that's all, and I just want something to happen at the top and bottom of it. So let's get rid of support and put endorse, that's fine. Yep. All right, thank you. And so to answer the second question, if we pass this resolution today, what then happens? Presumably the community board are able to do what they always intended to do under their community board plan, which is to work to achieve a holistic coordinated approach. And all council are doing is saying today that they endorse them in doing that, which when they approved their community board plan, they kind of endorsed them doing that anyway. Would that be the correct interpretation?
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
I mean, it's hard for this to be here without the context of the two extensive consultations we did on these two management reserves plans, the reserve management plans for Tioka and Misty Peaks. And I mean, it's just, there was a lot of submissions that came in about the lack of a joint up approach around things like ecology, visitation. So there is a number of work streams across the organisation and across other entities, but nothing that's tying it together at the moment. So, I mean, I support that approach, but I would like to kind of see, the timeframes for it, the process for it, how it's actually going to get done, rather than just a sort of resolution that just asks the community board to continue doing what they've always been doing and always had the ability to do. It just doesn't seem to me how that's going to change anything.
I think what we've got here is, council. Yeah. I mean, at least it means that there's a recognition at this table that there's work needs to happen on Banks Peninsula, driven by the community board, and this.
But we just heard from the same board just 5 minutes ago that there's a cruise action working party that they're not even a member of.
Yeah, but without a deep dive into the terms of reference and the purpose of that working party, I wouldn't want to jump straight to a discussion about whether a community board member should be a member of that group or not, because the purpose of that working party is set out in its terms of reference, and it has a particular purpose. I'm keen to move this on. We've got a resolution in front of us which has been moved and seconded, assuming the seconder is comfortable with the new wording. Is there any debate on that motion? I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Against? That's carried. Thank you very much. And Pam, thank you very much indeed for taking the time to prepare the presentation.